Chile, I just got the most mind-boggling, frightening comment. This man typed this long comment talking about, yeah, we ADOS eat string bean casserole too, yada, yada, yada. I said, hold up. Because Chile, y'all know y'all be on here swearing that I'm African all the time. And honestly, at this point, I might go ahead and take that because string bean casserole. String bean casserole. ADOS eating string bean casserole. Yeah, if that's the case, Africa, me. The fuck? Let's get into this comment in its entirety, babes. So this man typed out, even though green bean casserole isn't a southern dish in its origins, ADOS eat it just as much as white folk do. And we don't eat it only on Thanksgiving and or Christmas. We bring it to the get-togethers with friends, potlucks, and even at barbecues to add variety to the potato salad, slaw, baked beans. Born and bred in the South, I love it, and it's a part of my favorite and most requested meal. A huge shout out to the Jones family in the kitchen with Gina Young, cooking with Tammy, and of course smoking and grilling with AB. They all got green bean casserole recipes. Next, the average ADOS has 15% to 25% European DNA. You forgot the to 25% part and only went with the smallest percentage. And I'm pretty confident that biracials and multi-generationally mixed people weren't thrown in that study. If they were, then half ADOS, half Caribbean, half ADOS, half African, half ADOS, half Black Central American, and half ADOS, half Black South American would have carelessly been thrown in as well. It doesn't take an expert to clearly see how throwing in by ethnics will taint your sample because obviously they are more African in terms of DNA than ADOS. This is due to how slavery was practiced in Central America, South America, and the Caribbean versus how it was in the United States. It was completely different. Furthermore, a half ADOS, half African should never be included in such a sample for obvious reasons. You must isolate fully ADOS only and test their blood only in order to get an accurate representation of what the ADOS genome actually looks like. Finally, watermelons are alright. I do like watermelon flavored Jolly Ranchers and soda, but in terms of the actual fruit, I prefer apples, oranges, pears, plums, peaches, and grapes. By the way, grape flavored everything is truly an ADOS thing. I wouldn't trade being a fully ADOS, Southern brother for anything. I realize that for some ADOS, not all, think professing this love for watermelon, black-eyed peas, and okra somehow makes them feel closer to their African DNA. Well, what about potatoes, carrots, tomatoes, green beans, corn, especially skillet, squash with onions and hot sauce, cornbread? He spelled it cornbread. I'm gonna get to the spelling in a second. Brown beans, white beans, cabbage, especially smothered, grilled meats, meatloaf, and leftover meatloaf sandwiches, pork chops, breakfast sausages, bacon, yes, ham, yes, pot roast with them carrots, potatoes, and onions, white rice and brown gravy. White rice is a mutation of wild rice, grits, malto meal, cream of wheat, banana pudding, pound cake, Lord Jesus have mercy, peach or apple cobblers, sweet potato pie, pecan pie, buttermilk pie. None of those things are African. I'm so fully, hold up one second, I'm flipping again. Hold up, let me end this and find where I'm at in this screenshot. I'm so fully Southern and I'm so American. My base pairs don't read ATCG. Mine and my family read ADOS. Just can't fight it. Okay, I'm going to get into this comment, right? So first of all, this man commented this under a video, and I'll put the link to the video up here, in which I was talking about Patrick Mahomes. I think that's his name, the football player, right? So Patrick Mahomes is a biracial man, and he has a white wife. And they were on some show, you know, like, oh, how well do you know your significant other, your spouse or whatever, right? And the question was, oh, what's my favorite cheat day meal? He asked that of his wife. And his wife was like, fried chicken. And then he was like, no. And then she was like, chicken fried steak. And he was like, no. So I spoke about how white people force these stereotypes on the black people and the racism and all of that, right? Now, in this video, I was like, Patrick Mahomes looks mostly white, right? Because he does, okay? And I was explaining how, like, Even somebody who looks mostly white is still a victim of this extreme anti-black racism that white people perpetuate, right? So I said, like, yeah, Patrick Mahomes mostly looks white, which will make sense if his black parent is a black American because, you know, on average, we're 15% white. So he got some white genes from his parent as well, his black parent as well, excuse me. And that's why this person said, oh, the average ADOS is between 15 and 25% white. You forgot the upper end of the number, right? Now, I will say this, okay? I don't know the statistics. I don't know the studies. I don't know none of that. I'm not speaking from a scientific point of view. I am not, right? All I will say is this. From my vast experiences of being ADOS, right? I don't think the average ADOS is 25% white. I don't think so, okay? That's just from me looking around and using my eyes, okay? And I've mentioned previously that I think in these studies, they're classifying biracial people as ADOS. So they're being incorporated into these studies. And of course, that's bringing up the European admixture averages because that's the children of white folks. So duh, right? Now, he brought up a good point. He said, well, if they're using the children of white people, you know, biracials in these studies, then they're probably using the children of Africans as well, which also should not be used, which I agree, because clearly that's going to skew the study as well, right? If you have the child of a continental African, right, somebody who's half African and half Black American, of course they're going to be more African than the average Black American, right? Duh. Now, let me tell you what I think was very odd about this comment. First of all, ain't nobody eating no motherfucking string bean casserole, bitch. Like, the fuck? But that's not even what I'm finna focus on right now. What I think is so very odd about this comment, right? He said, oh, yeah, I think watermelon's all right. I do like watermelon flavored Jolly Ranchers and soda, but in terms of the actual fruit, so and so and so, right? And then he goes on to say, some ADOS, not all, think professing this love for watermelon, black-eyed peas, and okra somehow makes them feel closer to their African DNA. Well, what about the potatoes, carrots, so-and-so, green beans, blah, 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 right? Now, this is my thing. We have to have a serious conversation about this as ADOS because I think this was a very odd statement to make, and let me tell you why. Now, in the video that he commented under, I did mention that I like watermelon because I was explaining, you know, some Black people legitimately do like stereotypical things, right? So if Patrick Mahomes' favorite fruit was really fried chicken and his wife said that, well, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is not Black, but y'all get my point, right? Then that would make sense, right? Okay, yeah, sure, right? Same way, if I was married to a white guy and somebody asked him, oh, what's Flower Tyler's favorite fruit? The answer is watermelon, okay? Like, I'm going to tell you right now, because like I said in that video, I love everything watermelon flavored, okay? I love the fruit. I love the flavor. All of that, right? Now, I'm confused because this guy almost seems like he took some sort of offense to the fact that I like something that is rooted in Africa because Black Americans brought watermelon seeds from Africa. That's how watermelons got to the United States, right? So he comments like, oh, watermelon's all right, but what about the stuff we got from white people? And I just think that's so odd. Like, yo, this deserves a serious conversation because as ADOS, I do think that a lot of, well, not a lot, some ADOS are grappling with their identity, right? And let me explain what I mean by that. Sometimes you come across two extremes of ADOS and they take like the polar opposite takes, and I think both are very unhealthy takes, right? So one extreme is obsessed with Africa and pretending that we're African, and the other extreme is obsessed with pretending that we don't have anything to do with Africa, right? So, for example, I remember a couple years ago, I seen people online talking about, yeah, you know, we ADOS, we use our... Bro, it was when the fufu and that goosey challenge was popular. You know, all the Africans were talking about, oh, Black Americans don't have no culture. And I seen some Black Americans on TikTok. Granted, these might have been kids because, you know, it is TikTok. I don't know, though, right? Talk about, yeah, we ADOS. We eat cornbread and greens like fufu and that goosey. Like, we use our hands with the cornbread and then sop up the greens, so and so. I was like, bitch, don't nobody do that. Like, now, don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, we do eat cornbread with our hands. But ain't nobody, like, eating it like fufu and egusi. Nobody's doing that shit, bro. But that's that extreme where they're pressed to pretend that they're African, even to the point where they not, okay? But then you also have this opposite extreme. I said I like watermelon, and you talking about, oh, well, what about potatoes? What about the stuff we got from white people? Like, what? Like, baby, I loves me some watermelon, and I loves me some black eyed peas too. I don't know if you was casting shade, but I done said before on YouTube and in real life, baby, if I'm ever in the hospital and I need a blood transfusion or something, and y'all don't know my blood type, just hook me up to a bag of black eyed pea juice, and I'll wake right up. I assure you, okay? Now, I will be honest, I'm not a huge fan of okra. Okra is slimy. It's like, for me, it's not the taste, it's the slime. Now, I will say that fried okra is usually not slimy, so I do eat fried okra, but like aside from that, the slime is just I ain't a huge fan of okra in that capacity, right? But again, why are you pressed about somebody liking the parts of their own culture just because they share it with Africans? Like, why would I sit here and act like I don't like watermelon when I loves me some watermelon, babes, okay? Just because that's something that Africans also grow and eat or whatever. Like, huh? And this is my thing. Y'all, I think, have serious issues with simply being yourself. Y'all either trying too damn hard to be African or trying too damn hard to be European. Y'all can never just be yourself, bro. I was actually going to make a video about the other end of the spectrum, and I never got around to it because there's this guy who comments under my YouTube all the time, and he takes being pro-black to the point where it's like you're low-key a little bit anti-ADOS, because he basically pretends that we should be African. And realistically, culturally, we're not. Like, that's just the reality. We haven't been in Africa in hundreds of years. Our cultures have grown apart, etc., etc., etc. Like, this dude will sit here and tell me that I barely speak AAVE. Have you ever heard me talk before? But he'll be like, oh, AAVE should be like a Creole, another language, so and so and so. Well, nigga, it's not. So you're going to have to come to terms with the fact that it's not. Because in the United States, we're surrounded by white people. So, of course, there's going to be some language transfer and some rubbing off and this, that, and so and so and so. Like, yeah, we can sit here and point out, yeah, Gullah Geechee is like another language because they secluded wherever. There ain't no damn white people over there. So, of course, there was none of that exposure on the language. But for the rest of us who don't live there, AAV, this is what it is. This is what it is. And the fact that you're not okay with that, I mean, it's like it's to the point where it's like again, I get that you're trying to be pro-black, but it's like you damn near anti yourself because you worshiping Africans and picking apart the parts of our culture that are not African. And it's like, that's not who we are. Can we just acknowledge that we got different stuff going on, right? And like I said, I was going to make a video about that, and it ties right into this because this dude is on the opposite extreme. Why are you pressed about me liking watermelon just because that's something that we have in common with Africans? Like, why you had to point out, oh, well, some ADOS, they like watermelon and okra, but I like potatoes. I love white people. Like, bro, what are you saying? Like, yeah, there are parts of our culture that came from our contact with Native Americans and white people. Absolutely. We live in a country where we're the minority quite clearly. Like clearly when we got here, it was different from Africa and we had to do the best that we could. Quite literally, duh, right? So yeah, there's going to be impacts on our culture from white people and from Native Americans and whatever, right? And that's fine. That's totally fine. But why are you so pressed to point those out? But what about the squash and the potatoes and the so-and-so? Forget about that watermelon and black-eyed peas. Like, this shit is weird. This shit is weird. It really is. I don't know why some of y'all be so pressed to act like you don't have any sort of relationship or relation to Africans. Like, I don't get it. Because this is my thing. This is my thing. I've said on YouTube 1,000 times, I'm not African. I will never sit here and say that I am, because me personally, I feel like my people have been removed from Africa too long for me to be sitting here calling myself African, right? But I know for a fact that my ancestors came from Africa and they lived there for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, longer than my ethnicity has lived in the United States of America. So I'm not going to sit here and be ashamed about any similarities that I have with Africans. Bitch, my people was African longer than they was African American. So like, what the fuck are you saying? Like, y'all just, I don't know, y'all just be getting on my nerves. Also, them string bean casserole comments, oh, babes, it's giving imposter. Like, you know how they be having those videos where people are blindfolded and it's like, 5 African Americans and 1 secret white person. Can they figure out who it is, right? Soon as you said, yeah, we eat string bean casserole, you're out.